Welcome folks, I'm Andrew from Spaldings. As we go around our daily visits to farms, we very often get asked about the different types of grease that we sell and the different applications for them. This is only meant as a very rough guide and not a technical presentation. We sell 5 different sorts of grease. Lithium Basic, Lithium Complex or the high melting point, the Pin and Bush, the Slip and Slide and the EP3. Instantly, those can be put into 2 families, your lithiums and your graphites. Easiest way to know which application to apply to, if you've got something that turns 360 degrees, whether it's a PTO shaft or bearings, that's the lithium family. If you've got something that turns less than 360 degrees, similar to loader pins, handler, digger, swing shovel pins, that's when your graphite family come in. So, the very basic yellow grease that we do are for relatively small loads, low temperatures, just general everyday use. However, for a far better quality grease, our biggest seller is the complex, the red grease, the high melting point. That's used for similar to 1,000 PTO shafts that are traditionally under more load and run at higher temperature, bearings the same. So very much earth engaging machines, etc., flail head on a hedge trimmer. So higher temperature loads, higher loads, but thirdly, the complex grease is far more water resistant. So when you're power washing your machines off, it won't allow so much water to go in and affect the bearings or the yokes or whatever else you've greased. So, price comparison, a box of 12 complex grease will cost you about £5 more than the basic yellow. An average farm will use between 4 and 5 boxes a year, so at worst, out of the maintenance budget, there's an extra £25. And a lot of you will realise that the cost of replacing a yoke or a bearing is an absolute minimum of £45 to £50 without the labour and without the aggravation of downtime. So what's the difference between the lithium family and the graphite? The lithium family is a very sticky grease. It's designed for bearings. Take away, it's still there. It sticks to the bearings and does its job. However, the graphite family is a pressure grease. So as soon as I apply pressure to that grease, instantly it starts to move away from the contact area. And if I move my fingers, you can see the grease is squished out, and where the pressure is, there is little or no grease left at all. The graphite family is exactly the same as the lead in your pencil. So if we take a pencil now and scribble on the pad with a clean finger, I then apply pressure. And if I put as much pressure as I can on that, very quickly you'll see that the graphite adheres to the pressure area. So, our first graphite product is the Pin and Bush grease. That's predominantly used for, as we've said before, your loaders, your handlers, etc. As I go round, many will often say, as soon as they start to grease a pin, the grease will squirt out at the top. When they've removed the pin, half of it is bone dry. So how do we solve that problem? One of the most brilliant things that we do in Spaldings is this. It's actually called a grease nipple cleaner, but it can also be used as a pin lubrication device. In there, you put your hydraulic oil, 32, 46 transmission, makes no difference, and reload this. So the principle, if you start with a dry stone slab, pour some water on, the water will instantly run off in one line, leaving the remainder of the stone dry. If you then make the entire stone wet, when you pour your water on, it'll dissipate over the whole of the stone. This is exactly the same principle with the lubricating tool. You put it onto the grease nipple of your loader, you take your hammer and very gently tap, tap, tap. Probably at this stage, health and safety would like us to say, you need to be wearing your hard hat, your goggles, your gloves, your high vis, your steel toe cap boots, your bulletproof vest. We're not worried about that at this stage. By knocking this into the pin, this will allow the hydraulic oil to soak around all the dry areas. So when you come to grease it, the grease will naturally flow far better around that pin, giving better protection. The second graphite that we sell is what we call the slip and slide, the molly grease, the black grease. That's used on your material handlers for the booms that go in and out, but also a lot of the fencing contractors and farms that do a lot have their own post bangers. And the mast where the weight goes up and down, that is the perfect grease. It's sticky, it adheres to the surfaces for the boom going constantly in and out, for the mast constantly going up and down. The grease stays there, protecting the machine. The final graphite is our EP3. It's a very high load bearing grease. So yes, it's for bearings that turn 360. It sort of combines the hard wearing of the graphite and the lubrication of the lithium. The best way that anybody who's looked at a recycling video will see the giant shredders where the big rollers come together to shred material. Those bearings are under a huge amount of load. And again, that's where the EP3 comes in. Price. You're probably going to be paying somewhere in excess of 10, 12, 15 pounds per box more than the complex. But especially on your loaders and your diggers, you're not going to need to grease anywhere near as often. This grease stays on your pins and in your bushes. So you're saving the amount of grease you need and saving your money. And more importantly, you're also saving that time greasing 14 or 16 grease nipples on a loader on the headstock. Finally, the most valuable mechanic on the entire farm is a really good quality grease gun like the Alamite and a quality range of grease. Folks, we hope you've learned something. Thank you.